But this time we want to invite Bonnie Albert to come and share with us about Africa University and also challenge us to be a part of missions around the world.
Good morning. Good morning. It's nice that you are thinking missions the month of May. That is very close to my heart. That's what I do in my church and as part of United Methodist Women. How many of you are United Methodist Women? We have a few here, yes. That's a serious part of who they are. So, how many of you know anything about Africa University? We have a few, okay. So I thought I would give you you've got a brochure in your bulletin this morning, so that will give you some information. But as we prepare to, as a conference, gather some funds to help at Africa University, it's my pleasure to come here to speak to you of what I call the crown jewel of the United Methodist Church in terms of mission. It's the connectional church at its finest. The university was born out of a desire by the African bishops to provide a quality education to young and sometimes old across Africa, not just where it's going to be located. They came with a plan to the General Conference in 1984 and said, we really want a university. We want a university on the continent of Africa that is of United Methodist, and we have just a place for it. In 1988, a vote was taken at our General Conference, and we have everybody tuned into this, said yes at the General Conference, and that meant not just the people of the United States, but the entire world said yes, we will help build this university. All Methodists bought into the plan to build this all-Africa institution of higher learning through an apportioned dollar. At that time, we were doing apportionments, and it didn't even notice it. 25 cents from the funds that you sent through your church, maybe up to 29 cents went to build this university. Most of you don't feel 25 cents a year, do you? If that's gone, it's okay. But when we put all of those 25 cents together, I want to show you what we've created this time. And it wasn't just funds from the United States. Every Methodist congregation in the world participated in this. The university would be built on lands that were given by Cecil Rhodes. How many of you know where Africa University is located? It used to be called Rhodesia. Why was it called Rhodesia? Cecil Rhodes found it. That just makes me a little crazy when I think about it. In the mid-1800s, he comes to Africa and he finds this land, as if that land hadn't been there before. So he just mapped out and said, this part's mine, and we're going to call it Rhodesia. Kind of nice, isn't it, for somebody? Well, in his wisdom in finding Rhodesia, as he was building around, there was going to be a new community. There was a railroad coming through, and he wanted to build a town. And after he got the town sort of started, he realized he'd built the town in the wrong place. He wanted it on the other side of the railroad tracks. I don't know what all the story was to that, but he had to abandon that piece. So he found the Methodist church there. The Methodist church had already been established in the late 1800s, and he called the bishop and said, I'd like to give you this land. Ooh, I've got 15,000 acres here that I don't know what to do with. I've started building, and I don't know what to do with this. So the Methodist church took over that land. Bishop Hartzell obviously greatly accepted that. How perfect. They not only had land, but they had buildings, and they could begin what was known as a mission station. It would have a church, it would have a clinic, it would have an orphanage, and about 13,000 acres of farmland. The story is that Bishop Hartzell then had a dream, and one day this land would be used for a school to educate all people of Africa. This was back in the 1800s. And it was that dream then that came to the annual conference, or the general conference in 1984, and said, we need to realize that dream. Bishop Hartzell had the dream for here. We've got the land, we've got the space, and here we go. So the construction began in 1992 on about 1,500 acres that had been set aside for the campus. All of the buildings, I see the picture that you're looking at now. You can see that the chapel, that's the building that has the red rooftop that looks like this, and then you'll see the buildings on either side of that. You'll see the long road, and what's behind it is the mission station. So if you follow that road behind and go up the hill, then you'll be at the mission station. So when I was there in 1998, I could stand at the orphanage and look out, and I could see the university. And that's probably where Bishop Hartzell was when he made that statement. There are a few famous landmarks of the campus. One is the chapel in Korea. One is our dorm. This is some of the beginning places. This is where that began in 1992. There were some old farm buildings, and that's where that university began, with 41 students. Okay. I don't know what slide number we're on, but yep, and see the little hut back there? That was the first registration building. That's where they registered 41 students, okay? And then it has grown from there. Please note, now you're seeing it reverse. We're up on the hill behind the university, and if you follow that road up towards the base of that mountain, that's where the mission station is today. Okay, go on, we'll show. That's the chapel. That chapel was built by a Korean congregation. One congregation in Korea with 30,000 members. Yeah. One congregation in South Korea with 30,000 members built that chapel. We also have our dormitories. How many of you, does anybody have remembering when we built dormitories at Africa University? These are Indiana dormitories. There are 4 dormitories there to house students, and that's, we helped with that. And then we have this is the library, and that was built by the Japanese. These buildings have been incorporated into other buildings there, such as the Institute for Peace and Leadership and Governance and the new Health Sciences building. But these buildings really aren't the heart and soul of this fine university. The heart and soul comes from the students who seek an education which has the potential to change their life. My husband and I'd like to introduce my husband. He's right here. And we also have a guest with us from South Korea, Hain. Hain is here, and just off the side, she will be one of the new young adult mission people who are going to be going to the Philippines in July. She will be trained to become a United Methodist missionary for the next 2 years. So we have a new young missionary in our presence today as well. But anyhow, my husband and I have visited in 1998, and one of the things that I remember, and sometimes it's hard, I get a little choked up thinking about Africa University because I spent a good part of my time on that campus for those 2-3 weeks, really in absolute awe at how the United Methodist Church could come together and make something so wonderful. And so there's seldom a day goes by. I went back in 2000. There's seldom a day goes by that I don't hear from somebody that I met either in 2000 or 2011. One of them is Hajane. Hajane, I didn't meet in 2000, but we had money left over from our team. We offered her $500 so that she could help with her school fees. Hajane graduated in 2004. She worked and worked and worked and tried to get a job, could not get a job. In 2008, she finished her graduate degree from the Health Sciences Department and still could not find a job. And then she called me one day and she was so excited. She had a job in Darfur. How many of you have heard of Darfur? I hope you have. Mr. Clooney has told us many times about Sudan in many ways. Darfur is just an awful place, and I'm thinking, how could you go from Zimbabwe, which at that time in 2008 was having all sorts of trouble with Mugabe? How could you go there? But she did, and she is. She thought her skills were in health sciences, and so she's doing a lot of things with women's ministries around health in Darfur. Last year, she did 36 hours toward a doctorate at the University of Kentucky, and we were blessed to have her in our home for student holidays. Now she's taking a year's leave of absence, and this is the part I want you to hear. Because with her scholarship, she got enough money to go to school. And I want you to hear how many hours she took. 36 hours towards her doctorate in 9 months. Okay? She needs to get through. Why? Because she has a mother, sisters, nieces, nephews, that without her working and sending support, they can't survive. She went home from the last summer, and she called crying. She said, I can't go back to finish my doctorate. I have to go to work. So she's back in Darfur working with the women she loves. I'd like to ask for prayers for her. She has a big decision to make soon. Another one I'd like to introduce you to is Christian. Christian Zigbu. Zigbu is a famous name in the Methodist Church in Liberia. He was a product of Operation Classroom. He was educated at Ganta School. After being a refugee in various countries, Ivory Coast, several places around Liberia, somebody found him, brought him into school. He graduated from Ganta and then was given a scholarship at Africa University. He is another one that is a mission intern in Africa today, because we, people from Indiana, have helped him get an education. He's now trying to find churches to help support him. Another one I would like to have you meet is Pamby. Pamby, I've not met in person, but I feel I know Pamby. At Christmas time this year, I got a note from one of my students that I have something to do with, and they said, there's a young girl on campus and she can't go to school the second semester. And I thought, that's just the way it always is. Somebody sends those kids to that school and they don't have enough money and they can't go there, and then somebody else is expected to bail them out. And I get a little bit ornery about it. So I make sure, have you done this, this, and this, and this? Her father had already sold land. She was the fifth child, had already waited 4 years to go to college. He got enough money together to get her 1 semester, thinking that she could get a scholarship for second semester. I had 2 Africans in our home for Christmas, and I got a call from our United Methodist Women treasurer. She said, Bonnie, I don't know what to do. We have more money. I need to get rid of some. So, you caught the story real quick there. Caught the story very quick. Long story short, after the donation from United Methodist Women, a private donation, Dad's selling more land, Pamby has just finished her finals for her second semester, and we pray that she has a scholarship for next year. She's from Nigeria. She can't go back to Nigeria. It costs too much money. Back and forth would take a half a year's tuition. So when those kids come to Africa University, they are there till they're done. There's no going home for vacation. There's no going anywhere. You stay there and hope for the best. The next one is David Martins. David's a wonderful young man from Nigeria. He was with the Africa University Choir. I did not meet him on the choir tour, but he was most pleased to be able to be accepted to do that. He's done his very best to get an education that can't stop with just that undergraduate degree. He will need a master's degree if he has any chance at all to return to Nigeria and find a job that not only supports himself but others. I'd like for you to hear his words. I told him I was going to speak one day, and he said, I want to say some things. So here's his words. Additional scholarships really go a long way in changing the mindsets of African youth about life. And education is the basics of eradicating illiteracy, poverty among youth who have been abused, mesmerized by politicians as just tools for political violence and crimes in society. AU is not just a college, it's a church as well. For youth to affect society positively, they need good moral lessons, and AU does provide that opportunity. Coming to AU has turned my life around for the good. It has given me more reasons for wanting to reach the apex of my destiny. In my short life, I would have been meaningless if I had not been here. Thanks to God Almighty and to all the sponsors out there for giving me life, not just an education. Martin expresses a bit of his complete trust in God, as all of the students that I've met. They see God as a central part of their life's activities. When things go right, they praise God loud with song, with dance. And when there's struggles, they know that God is there. They remain faithful because there's hope that tomorrow things will change. I've never heard of even one of them being angry for God relating to their poverty or the mess that they're in. And so that's why that psalm this morning was so important to me, and I hope shared with you. And I like the way that you try to work on, truly he is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress. I will never be shaken. And that's the message those kids give to me all the time. It's okay, Bonnie. Tomorrow will be better. Tomorrow's going to be okay. Our first visit to AU, there was a statistic that's been imprinted in my brain. I see some young people sitting here. Most of us, when you graduate from high school and you want to go to college, that's not an issue, is it? Maybe find a scholarship, maybe not. Maybe you get a loan. Oh dear. Okay. Well, there are 3,000 students who graduate every year in Zimbabwe, ready to go to school. Oh, excuse me, I'm wrong with that. There's 9,000 people, 9,000 young people in the country of Zimbabwe who graduate ready to go to school. There are only 3,000 places available in the country. Do you know what that's like to have to fight to get into a school? So that's why this university is so, so important. That's just one country, and they are located in the midst of others. How many of you have any idea where Zimbabwe is located? Cool. Southern part, South Africa, then Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and Botswana, and Zambia is on the top of it, so it's surrounded by those countries. For all of the students we've met, AU has been life-changing. For me personally, AU continues to be the most powerful event in my life. Other than my husband and my family, it probably has impacted my spiritual growth more than anything else. Taught me so much. We whine, folks, about some really dumb things. We whine about nothingness. For them, it's a matter of, can I live tomorrow? When our kids graduate from college, they hope to be able to support themselves. When these kids graduate from college, they hope to be able to support themselves and maybe 30 to 60 other people. That's what's expected of them. Our connectional church has come alive on these grounds, and we must never take lightly the extent to which we are part of changing the fabric of life in Africa. On a continent where Christianity is growing so fast, indigenous leadership in the churches is critical. We have a wonderful opportunity, a part of this movement, so that that gives Africa fresh, ethically grounded, and faith-based leadership. Together, we can keep that dream alive. Thank you.